Ready when you are.
All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on October 16th, 2024. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Thibodeau? Here. Alderman Govea is here. Alderman Moran? Alderwoman Timmons?
Here.
Alderman Clemmons? Alderman Clee?
Here.
Mayor Donchis?
Here. All right, public comment. I don't see any member of the public, but if there is anyone and you wish to comment to the committee, please come forward. Apparently no one. Next, communications. First communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of salt for winter snow and ice operations in the amount of $545,000 funded from General Fund 61514 Salt. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of winter road salt from Granite State Minerals of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and Eastern Minerals Incorporated of Chelsea, Massachusetts, in the amount of $545,000. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets Fund, General Fund 61514 Salt.
And Mr. Ibarra is here.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, as you said, our annual road salt procurement. Granite State got the state bid and actually did a little better on the city's end by $1. So we piggybacked off the state bid as we do annually, and we're pleased with their service. They're very reliable and happy to answer any questions.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you. I'm just curious to know if they run out of salt or do they have some salt left over from the previous year?
I'm told that the docks have salt on hand from last year, based on last year's season, yes.
Now, you were answering about the supplier, and I think the question was actually about the city of Nashville, correct?
Right, exactly.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood, my apologies. Yeah, I tried to stock the barn up at the end of the season and burn down the budget, so we're ready to go into the season. Yes.
Anybody else? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the supply that you use within the trucks for salting. This is not the salt supply with the sand that you have that the residents can get, is correct?
Well, it comes from the same batch of material. We just load the residential salt and sand shed for that consumption used by the residents, yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to wet weather boiler replacement in the amount of $49,385 funded from Wharf 81300 Machinery and Equipment. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase and installation of a natural gas-fired boiler in the Nashua Wastewater Treatment Facility, Wet Weather Facility Headworks Building from Palmer and Sickard of Exeter, New Hampshire, in the amount of $49,385. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, WERF 81300 Machinery and Equipment.
Mr. Boucher is here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave Boucher. Wastewater.
It may be helpful for him to shut his video off.
Mr. Boucher, so you are breaking up and we can't hear you. So you're saying it would be helpful if you did what?
Yeah, if he shuts his video, Mr. Boucher, shut your video off.
An installation of a new
Yeah, we can't hear him.
Can't hear 'em.
All right, well, so,
and part of our
all right, so as you can see from the
is
communication.
that better?
Yes, could you repeat what you had
Yeah,
to say?
is that better?
Yeah,
Yes.
now it is, yes.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, Can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear us now?
Maybe I can log in with my phone.
No, you're good.
All right,
The replacement of a boiler that has reached the end of its useful life. I can. Can you still hear me?
yeah,
Okay.
so what you're telling us is that there's a boiler,
So yes, we put this out to bid. And Paul and Sakai were the low bidders. We've checked some references, like to use them to purchase and install the new boiler.
all right, so as the communication indicates, the wet weather
There is an
facility,
existing
wait, hold on.
boiler
As the
that's at the end
communication,
of its useful life. And it's hard to get parts for. So it has to be replaced.
all right, so this is a wet weather facility, which is a component, a big component of the sewage treat, or the wastewater treatment plant. There's a boiler that has reached the end of life. It's gone out to bid. The low bidder is is Palmer and Sicard. And the proposal is to award them the bid in the amount of $49,385. Does anyone have any
Correct.
questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to Phase 4 landfill construction in the amount of $6,788,865, funded from Bond 81100 Capital Improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract with Charter Contracting Company, LLC of Boston, Massachusetts, in the amount of $6,788,865, including the bid alternate for the construction of Phase 4 landfill. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond 81100 Capital Improvement.
Mr. LaFleur?
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. Just as this says, this has been a 6-year-long project for us at the Solid Waste Department. My team and the director have been going for approvals to get this Phase 4 approved. And now we're actually going out to contract to build the Phase 4, which would give us 40 years of airspace. You can see the 3 bids in the packet that they were all very, very close, which gives us a very, very confident, very great amount of confidence that the project will be completed within that funding. I can answer any questions.
And the Phase 4 landfill project will add how many years to the life of the landfill?
40 years, approximately 40 years of airspace. It depends on, how big the city grows, how quickly, and how much more trash comes in, but we're anticipating about 40 years of airspace.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the letter that we have here, one of the things this is on the note, and I don't know if you can answer this, it says note, and it says bid, alternate, 159,000 for, each one of them has a bid alternate. Can you
Yes,
explain that to us? what it means?
absolutely. So Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. So when the construction of Phase 4 begins, we'll be removing some soil out of the area that the Phase 4 landfill will be being constructed. It's going to be about 40 to 50,000 yards of material. It's something that the Solid Waste Department couldn't manage, placing it where we want to place it. We need to place it near the setback barrier wall that we have to build to have our setback from the trash from Phase 1, 2, and 3. That bid right there is for them to actually move the material over to the setback area and place it right where we need it, so we won't have to touch it, ourselves.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following up off of that, I had the same question about the bid alternate as well. Now, looking at it, is that just something we didn't foresee coming? Is that something we thought we would do internally at first and then kind of figured out the bandwidth wasn't there?
Well, no, actually, we know that we needed, hundreds of thousands of yards behind the setback. It's just that the amount of material that they'll be moving to construct Phase 4 would be going over there so fast that we just wouldn't be able to handle it. So they'll just move it, use their equipment, and place it right where we need to place it, and, that'll eliminate any extra manpower from us. We wouldn't be able to handle that much material all at once. If it comes in gradually, like we usually take in, I can handle that, as my daily operations. But with, 40,000 yards moving that quick, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Just a quick
Yes.
follow-up.
Go ahead.
I guess my real question is, and sorry if I said that wrong, was just to put it bluntly, is why wasn't that included in the original kind of the proposal? Why are these bid alternates instead of just fixed into that? What we see here is a $6.6 million cost.
So Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste, I did misunderstand what you were saying.
No worries.
We need to, it's a process of us doing everything all at once. We have to place the soil. I could take the 40,000 yards and just have it dumped in the setback and just have a mountain there, but then I would actually have to go ahead and take care of it. We didn't think we'd be this far ahead with our wall
Gotcha.
to handle it and be able to place it in place. So if they place it in place for us, I can continue building the wall, which will gain me another year or two of airspace. Again, this process took us, almost 6 years to get where we are, which ate up half the airspace that I have, and we were starting to get very tight, and we're getting nervous that, we'll have to start placing trash all over the place just to handle the amount that's there. So by them placing the soil, I can put the wall up faster, and then I can continue placing trash up against the wall.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sorry, I was
No,
confused
that
with the
makes more
question.
sense. Thank you.
Yep.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Just a technical, what is airspace?
Airspace is the amount of trash that can go into 1 cube of air. So it's, we can condense
It's
the
like
trash.
enough room in the landfill
Right.
to take in the trash for 40 years. is
Right, so
basically-
yeah, we'd have enough of an area that we could fit 40 years worth of trash in, so that's what's considered airspace.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to hazardous material training in the amount not to exceed $25,800, funded from 3600 Fire Grant Fund 55421 Employee Training and Certification. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the 2024 Hazardous Material Training Program presented by Noble Supply and Logistics in the amount not to exceed $25,800. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue, Fund 3600 Fire Grant Funds 55421 Employee Training and Certification Grant, State of New Hampshire Department of Safety Homeland Security Grant Program.
Chief?
Hey, good morning. Mark Cooley, Assistant Fire Chief with National Fire Rescue. As Alderman Govea said, the request tonight is for an expenditure not to exceed $25,800 paid to Noble Supply, who will present the 2024 Hazmat Refresher. This year's topic is going to be 4 8-hour classes on lithium-ion battery emergencies. It includes a period of classroom as well as practical sessions. The $25,800 is part of a $60,715 fully funded grant from the New Hampshire Department of Safety, Homeland Security, and Emergency Management Grant Program, and there is no local match for this particular grant.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Aye.
passes.
No.
Oops, sorry.
I oppose.
Okay, let's do it again. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to amendment number 1 for the Riverfront Construction Administration in the amount of $154,600, funded from 5100 Capital Projects 81700 Infrastructure Improvement / Riverfront TIF Bond. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract with Western and Sampson for Amendment 1 for Clock Tower Place, Final Design and Construction Administration, and to address unforeseen geotechnical conditions that require additional evaluation and design revisions in the amount of $154,600. To date, $95,000. Finance Memo number 24-137. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development, Fund 5100 Capital Projects, 81700 Infrastructure Improvement / Riverfront TIF Bond.
All right, Ms. Hannum?
Sorry for the mouthful. Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. This is one of the amendments that I brought up at last week's presentation on the Riverfront. So this is to help us with construction administration. We've had a number of design changes as we see what's in the ground. We've had to do some grading issues, and the helical piles, as I mentioned, hit an old foundation of a building, and so we had to really redesign a lot of that. There's also an allocation in there for the design of the sort of second piece, the piece that's from the end of the pavilion to the Cotton Mill Bridge. So, and that's going to be mostly landscaping. So we don't anticipate it being much more than the 80, but that's what we've allocated for at this point.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to amendment number 1 for the Riverfront Electrical Design Services in the amount of $74,500, funded from 5100 Capital Projects /53107 Architect and Engineering Riverfront TIF Bond. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract with Fitzmyer and Tochi for amendment to modify the scope of the electrical and lighting design for the downtown Riverfront implementation. In the amount of $74,500, to date $145,500, Finance Memo 23-371. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development Fund 5100 Capital Projects and 53107 Architect and Engineering Riverfront TIF Bond.
Liz Hannum, Economic Development. Very similar situation with this one. They've done some of the design work, but we've added a lot of electrical with the food truck pod area, and then we've also added lighting within the handrails. So they're working on the design for that.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do you foresee any more amendments like these in the near future, or do you think this is it? I mean, they're not going up a ton in money, but obviously something to
Yeah,
pay
not
attention
for
to.
this particular vendor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to change order number 1 for the Riverfront Construction Services and Renaissance and Bicentennial Park in the amount of $112,260, funded from 5100 Capital Projects and 81700 Infrastructure Improvements /Riverfront TIF Bond. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 1 with Moran's Landscaping Incorporated for additional work for unforeseen conditions, including additional test pits along the river wall, light pole relocation, modifications to site grading, curb removal, and resetting field modifications to catch basins, rework of slab forms and reinforcements to address geotechnical issues encountered, and additional related projects coordinated in the amount of $112,260. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development Fund 5100 Capital Projects and 81700 Infrastructure Improvement Riverfront TIF Bond.
This is also similar to, we found some geotechnical issues, so we did have to rework some of the curbing as we found that the grade wasn't going to work. So we did have to pull some of the stuff out that we had already done and redo it. So that's a lot of this. I do anticipate more change orders coming from this vendor, and probably in about the 200,000 range, but we don't know what that's going to look like yet. But this is kind of the first step in the work that they've already completed.
Question?
Alderman Thibodeau.
Is this the one that's being impacted by the discovery of foundations and old?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So these are the landscape actual implementers. So they're the ones that are doing the construction.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Mayor, so when you say that in this particular one that you had to pull out that what has already been put in, but yet it's stuff that you found that was underneath it, did we not see it when it got put in?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of ways to see underneath the ground before you're doing construction. And so the way that we plotted out the timing of each of the projects may or may not have been an issue here, but the contractor thought that this was going to be the best way to do it and work from the backside of Clock Tower forward. And all the issues that we're finding with the geotech are close to 4 Water Street, which is the forward side. Mm-hmm. And so I think we maybe, I can't fault the landscaper for this because we wouldn't have been able to foresee it.
Mayor, quick
Yes,
comment?
Alderwoman Clee.
So refresh my memory, if I remember correctly, you had said that there were like old foundations, meaning old foundations from buildings that had been there prior. I know that there had been, if my memory serves, there had been an old building there at one point. There had been like a massive fire. There was a fire on the Main Street Bridge and so on. So is that what we're talking about, the foundations from like maybe some of these old like hotels or buildings that had been there that had burnt and so on?
Yeah,
Is that
so
what we're finding?
That is the work of that's a portion of this work.
Okay.
So some of it is design work that we mentioned in the earlier
Right.
legislation, but, and then some of it is that we're finding that the soil is not steady underneath what we can see. And so we've had to kind of build up the seawall a little bit. We've had to do some digging and we've had to do, we had emergency, a while ago, about $15,000 worth of emergency work in drilling holes to make sure that we could actually move forward with the landscape, the sidewalk. And it turns out we couldn't. So we could, but instead of 4 inches of underpile, we needed 8 inches of underpile. So that was why we had to pull the 4 inches, a portion of the 4 inches up and rework the 8 inches. So it's a portion of the pavilion is where we found that old foundation. And then the rework is happening because we found that the soil just isn't supportive enough to get things like our sewage vac truck through there, which it's going to need to do because we'll still have manholes through the whole park. So it's a combination of both things for this contract.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kind of to go off my last question on the other communication we had. Now, the project as a whole, obviously, we expect change orders. Not many projects don't have them.
Yeah.
But just financially speaking, the whole project, everything financially still on tact, even with some probably up-and-coming change orders coming as well?
Yeah. So we're still in that less than $1 million that I mentioned in the potential change orders. So the additional $200,000 that I mentioned that is coming, that I knew and had in the presentation last week.
Yep.
So we anticipate that this vendor particularly is going to be in the 300 range once we're completed with the work. So we'll see this one for work that they've already started and completed, and then we'll see one more at the end that I anticipate. And that's assuming we changed the scope of work just a little bit, and so that's where we're anticipating that extra.
Quick follow-up.
Yes.
So just to clarify, you said you were expecting roughly $1 million in change orders just throughout the whole project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I'll caveat that.
Sure.
Don't quote me on that because we still have another year of construction.
Of course, of course.
Yes.
To date, that's what you
Yes,
anticipate.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, 2 communications regarding emergency POs. If there's no objection, we'll just accept those and place them on file. And then tabled in committee, we have nothing. New business, resolutions and ordinances, nothing. Record of expenditures. Alderman Govea.
I move that the Finance Committee has compiled with city charters and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period of September 13, 2024 to September 26, 2024, and September 27, 2024 to October 10, 2024.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. General discussion. Any general discussion? Public comment. There is no one here, but if someone wants to pop in, we'll call on you. No one has come forward. So we'll move on to remarks by Alderman. Any remarks by Alderman? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This weekend on Saturday from 4 o'clock, I think 4 to 7, probably even later than that, is the Halloween Boo Bash at Greeley Park. They're going to have the haunted house, and weather permitting, they will have a bonfire, and they will have Hocus Pocus will be the movie, and I think it's going to start at sundown at Greeley Park. There will be pumpkin painting, and there will be, I believe, a hayride. I will be the Wicked Witch that will be standing outside of the haunted house. I did it last year, and I will be there. I will be there again this year. And for those, yes, I will be in my normal costume, not my aldermanic costume. But I look forward to it every year, so it'll be a fun time. Bring your children in costume or just as they are. There will be candy given away. There will be food that you can purchase, and there were hundreds and hundreds of children, and we're going to have great weather. It'll be in the 70s. The sun will be shining. It's going to be a really good time. So please come and have a good time. So that's all I have.
Any other remarks by Alderman? Alderman Thibodeau.
I meant to get it in the general comment, but it's not in question, it's a question about one of the resolutions, but it's not in opposition or anything. What is a WERF? What is it? That was the first time I've seen that one. A WERF fund, or,
Ms. Hannum.
I'm just not sure what the acronym is.
WERF.
It was on,
That was for the boiler one.
I'm sorry?
Oh,
It was
this
for
is
the
for the
boiler one?
boiler?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah,
the second one we did.
I'm just curious what it
Say.
means.
I have no idea.
I'm just starting to learn all the other ones, and then I saw that one, I'm like, oh, what is that?
Is that the one for
It's the second one on the
Bouchard,
agenda.
for Mr.
Yeah.
Bouchard?
Yep.
I think I have that here, hold
I
on.
think it's a wastewater enterprise fund, right?
Yeah, I think
Ah,
that,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I was just gonna
I've
say, I
never
thought
heard
that
it
was
referred
wastewater.
to as a WERF, but,
All right, so it's not, I'm not
Good
the only
question.
one.
Thank you.
I think that is the wastewater enterprise fund.
Thank you.
yes,
One
Alderman
more.
Thibodeau.
Wastewater enterprise fund.
What time does the event start on Saturday?
4 o'clock. I believe it's 4 o'clock, yes. But you can, if you go to the Facebook page, the Public Works, or the Parks and Rec, sorry, Parks and Rec's Facebook page, it's on it. It's got, actually, you can see me from last year on it. Yeah, in front of the haunted house. But it's a good time. It really is. And it starts at, I think, 4 to 7. When the sun starts going down, they have, this year's movie is the Hocus Pocus.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see anything else. Alderwoman Clee.
At this time, I'd like to call for adjournment.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:29 PM. Thank you, everybody.